Hi, and welcome to HR Tuesday Tips with the Millers. I'm Janine Miller.
And I'm Lori Miller, your training and development's me. So we've been doing a series of videos on the interview process, and we're going to finish up with today, kind of making sure we identify what types of mistakes we possibly make and how we can eliminate those when you're interviewing process. So take it away, Janine.
Okay, so one of the things that we need to pay attention to is not making snap judgments. Did you ever experience when you're interviewing somebody and the minute they come in, you're like, I like them. Yeah, they'll fit here. And then the interview begins. Try to avoid doing that. That's definitely something that often leads to mistakes. The other thing is in the HR world, we have terms halo and horn effect. So the halo effect is we'll ask them questions and we really loved one thing they answered well. And then even the rest of the interview may not have gone as well, but we hold on to the thing we really liked. The halo is the opposite of that. They said one thing wrong and we're like, forget it, we're not going to consider them. And we just mentally shut down. Avoid doing that. I always talk about live in the moment, listen effectively to what you're asking them at any given time, and don't let other things cloud it. Then there's that bias. We look at someone and say, I really like them. They're just like me. We have the same interests. So I think we'd get along great. Yeah, you might get along great, but are they qualified for the job? So those are two that are just come to mind that are very common mistakes that people make. So again, when you go through this process, and actually I'd recommend looking at our YouTube series on hiring because we talk about how to prep so you don't do things like this. So I would recommend that you do go to the previous segments that we've done if you haven't seen them. But anyway, just keep these things in mind.
Yeah, and one thing that we really haven't talked about is how do we take the human error out of it? We want to make sure that you've got the right questions, people are trained, but also what is an unbiased tool that you can use?
Right.
And there's assessments out there, and many of my candidates, as well as Janine's candidates, that we help organizations with their HR processing. We will take them through like a DISC behavioral assessment, and it's just one part of everything you're doing to make sure you're evaluating the candidate effectively and they're a good fit for your organization. So the DISC behavioral assessment is one that you can use. If you go to my website, I've got the tools on there, what the costs are, how you can use them in the selection, interviewing, and coaching process. So we encourage you to factor that in too, and we'll probably have more information down the road with these YouTube series to give you a little bit more information and knowledge of how to use assessments as far as coaching, training, and developing all of your individuals. So,
and I'd like to add to that, the DISC is one of my favorites, and I use it with my clients. And a lot of my clients are very small businesses, say 100 and under employees.
Yep.
And what we do is if we're down to 2 or 3 people and we're, kind of liking them, but we're not sure which would be the best, again, to take the human error out of it, we'll just give them this assessment, and it'll help us more clearly understand in a more objective manner which person might fit in best in our organization.
Based on their behavioral characteristics. And then it also helps once you do that selection as part of the onboarding process. What do you need to do to make sure that they're a good fit? And that gives you really good solid information to work off of.
The other piece of that, which people always ask, is are they expensive? They're not. So they're a very affordable assessment. They also don't take a lot of time to take, which candidates appreciate as well. So anyway, make sure you think about that as an additional tool to help you make your best decision on the hiring process.
Yes, we don't want you to make any mistakes. It takes a lot of time and energy to go through this process. So when you select the candidate that you want to interview, we want to make sure that you got everything in place that make sure with that final selection process, it's the right person for your organization.
Okay, and then our last segment, which will be next week, we'll be talking about the reference process.
Excellent. So I think that's it for today. We'll give you some tools and information to think about. Sit back, relax. We got this.